The Gold Saints are considered the most powerful warriors in Athena's sanctuary. Because of this, these saints always star in epic battles against powerful enemies, accomplishing feats that are nothing short of miracles that go beyond the impossible. And today we're going to check out 7 insane feats of the Gold Saints in this video. Hello, Saints and Amazons. Welcome to the Sempre Quiz Saber channel. I'm Wes, and today I'm going to show you 7 of the greatest feats accomplished by the Gold Saints from the Lost Canvas saga. Did you like the topic? Then go ahead and comment where you're watching this video from. I want to know which region of the country has the most Saint Seiya fans. And of course, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and let's get into this awesome video. Always. Saint Seiya. The Lost Canvas is a work that not only retells the holy war of the 18th century, but also elevates the Gold Saints to the status of living legends. Get ready, because what we're going to list here today are feats that defy logic, physics, and the very power of Cosmo itself. And before we get into the feats themselves, we need to understand what we're dealing with. Unlike the era of Seiya and Shiryu, the Holy War in the Lost Canvas takes place during a period when the sanctuary was at the height of its military and spiritual power. The Grand Master was Seiya, a survivor of the previous war, which brought an incredible amount of tactical experience to Athena's defenders. The main villain here is Alon, a young painter with a pure heart who was chosen to be the host for Hades' soul. He is creating the Lost Canvas, a gigantic painting in the sky that, once completed, will bring death to all living beings on Earth. It's against this apocalyptic event that our Gold Saints are fighting. And believe me, they spared no effort. So now let's move on to the first great feat on the list. Number 1. Albafica of Pisces, the beauty that hides sudden death. Many fans who grew up watching the classic series somewhat underestimated the Pisces saint, but Albafica came to destroy that prejudice right in the very first episodes. His achievement was not just defeating an enemy, but stopping an entire invasion by himself, led by one of the 3 judges of the underworld, Minos of Griffin. Albafica is not just a handsome man with roses. He lives in complete isolation because his blood is made up of a deadly poison, the result of years spent with his master Regulus, where they performed the Crimson Bond. This toxic blood is his greatest weapon and his greatest curse, preventing him from touching or being touched by any other human. Minos of Griffin, one of Hades' most powerful specters, arrived at the village of Rodorio with the intention of massacring everything. He used his cosmic puppet technique to break Albafica's bones one by one. The scene is brutal. We hear the sound of bones cracking. But Albafica, even with his body completely shattered and unable to stand, used a masterful strategy. He concentrated all his poisonous blood into a single white rose, the Bloody Rose. While Minos thought he had won, Albafica shot the rose directly into the judge's heart. And the result? Minos died, poisoned by the blood of the knight he so underestimated. Albafica gave his life to protect a village of people he couldn't even embrace. It was the perfect definition of sacrifice and duty, proving that the Pisces saint is actually one of the sanctuary's most fearsome lines of defense. Number 2. Manigold of Cancer, the man who punched a god. Well, the one responsible for this legendary feat is Manigold of Cancer. If in the classic series Death Mask was a cruel villain, Manigold is a charismatic, sarcastic, and absurdly powerful anti-hero. He was trained by the Grand Master Sage himself, which makes him a specialist in soul manipulation and will-o'-the-wisp. Manigold grew up seeing the souls of the dead, which made him cynical about life. He sees human existence as trash until he is taken in by Sage. His fighting style is aggressive, and he isn't afraid to get his hands dirty. Manigold simply invaded the territory of the twin gods Thanatos and Hypnos. While most mortals would tremble in fear before the presence of the god of death, Manigold interrupted a chess game of Thanatos, falling from the sky and landing a punch right on the deity's face. But the feat doesn't stop there. To seal Thanatos, Manigold sacrificed his own physical body to destroy the host that the god was using, allowing Sage to seal the deity's soul in a sacred urn. He died laughing, taunting a god until the very last second. This level of audacity and soul manipulation power, the waves of hell, has never been seen in any other Cancer Knight. He turned the despair of death into a weapon of victory for the sanctuary. Number 3 is El Cid of Capricorn, the sword that cuts through dimensions. El Cid exemplifies discipline but didn't view himself as a complete knight. For him, his body was just a sword still waiting to be forged. His quest for the perfect Excalibur led him to one of the most technical and impressive battles in the Lost Canvas. A man of few words, El Cid is the right-hand man of Sisyphus of Sagittarius. He is obsessed with cutting evil at its root, literally. His Capricorn armor is a symbol of his unwavering loyalty to Athena. El Cid faced the Oneros, the four dream gods who serve Hypnos. During the battle, his right arm was severed. Any other warrior would have gone into shock or died from blood loss. But El Cid used his own blood and his Cosmo to create a blade of light where his arm used to be. The ultimate feat happened when, even wounded and on the brink of death, he managed to cut in half the golden arrow of Sagittarius, sent by Sisyphus and bathed in Athena's Cosmo, into four perfect pieces to simultaneously strike the four souls of the dream gods who had merged. He didn't just cut gods, he cut through space-time itself and the dimensions of dreams. El Cid's precision took the Excalibur strike to a divine level. Number 4. Scorpio Kardia, the heart that burns hotter than the sun. Kardia is probably the most unstable and intense knight on this list. He suffers from a degenerative heart disease that causes his heart to produce unbearable heat. Instead of lamenting, he used this as his greatest strength. Kardia lives every second as if it were his last. He is sadistic with his enemies, but extremely loyal to his friends, especially Aquarius Degel. His signature technique is the Scarlet Needle, but he has a forbidden variant. During the mission in Atlantis, Kardia faces Rhadamanthys of Wyvern, one of the judges of the underworld. The fight was one of the most violent in the story, and to win, Kardia activated the Scarlet Needle Cataquil, a technique that synchronizes the heartbeat of Scorpio with that of his opponent, transmitting all the feverish heat of his sick heart into the enemy's blood. Kardia literally set Rhadamanthys' blood on fire from the inside out. He died feeling the pleasure of the ultimate battle, burning his life down to the last spark to ensure the enemy was defeated. Number 5. Aquarius Degel, sacrifice that froze an entire city. If Kardia is fire, Degel is absolute ice. He is the most intellectual knight, serving as the sanctuary's librarian and strategist. His connection to reading and knowledge makes him a figure of class and elegance. But don't be fooled. His freezing power is devastating. Degel was trained in the frozen lands of Bluegrass and possesses vast knowledge about the stars and mythology. He is the necessary balance to Kardia's impulsiveness. The mission in Atlantis aimed to obtain the Orichalcum, an artifact that contained Poseidon's power necessary to reach the lost canvas in the sky. At the climax of the battle, Poseidon's power began to spiral out of control through Seraphina's body, threatening to flood and destroy the entire world. To contain the fury of a sea god, Degel didn't just use diamond dust or the regular Aurora execution. He pushed his Cosmo to the absolute limit to instantly freeze the entire city of Atlantis in Poseidon's overflowing power. He became an eternal pillar of ice, sacrificing his life to keep the ocean under control and ensure Athena's mission could continue. Freezing the power of an Olympian deity. It's a feat that puts Degel on an absurd level of cosmic power. Number 6. Sisyphus of Sagittarius, the man who reached the 8th sense at the brink of death. Sisyphus is often seen as the body and soul of the sanctuary. He is the field leader, the man who brought Sasha, the reincarnation of Athena, to the sanctuary. However, he carries immense guilt for having taken Sasha from her ordinary life with Alone and Tenma. Unlike Ioris from the classic era, who appears only in flashbacks, Sisyphus is a constant presence. He is a model of virtue, but his greatest battle is internal, against his own shadows and doubts. Sisyphus accomplished a series of feats that challenge human endurance. First, he survived his own golden arrow, which was reflected back at his heart by Hades. Then, in the battle against Iacchos of Garuda, he pierced his own eyes, becoming blind to awaken the 8th sense, the Arayashiki, and to be able to see the vibrations of Cosmo beyond physical sight. But the most impactful moment was at the gate of the lost canvas, to open the way for Athena's army. Sisyphus had his heart weighed by a magical scale of the specter pharaoh of the Sphinx. Even after having his heart literally ripped out of his chest, Sisyphus continued to fight. He helped to unleash Athena's exclamation, technically being dead without a heart. His willpower surpassed human biology, proving that the power of a gold saint comes from the soul, not just the body. Number 7. Regulus of Leo, the prodigy who became one with nature. Number 7. The ultimate prodigy. Regulus of Leo is the son of Elias, the saint who was considered the hero of the sanctuary. Regulus is the youngest saint of the order. a true genius who can learn and replicate any technique just by watching. Regulus has a special vision that allows him to see the flow of Cosmo and the vital points of everything around him. He is the embodiment of humanity's infinite potential. Regulus's final battle was against Adamantus, who at the time was fully imbued with the divine blood of Hades, becoming a creature of almost infinite power. To face this monster, Regulus did something that no other saint in history had ever attempted. He performed the Athena exclamation by himself. Yes, an attack that normally requires 3 gold saints, he performed by concentrating all the power into his own fist. But it didn't stop there. When his physical body began to break down due to the pressure of so much power, he unleashed the Zodiac Clamor, an attack that combines the 12 gold constellations into a single blast. Finally, when he evaporated, Regulus did not die in the traditional sense. He merged with nature, becoming part of the wind and the world. In this spiritual state, he unleashed one last plasma lightning bolt, which pierced through Adamantus's heart. Regulus proved that at the peak of Cosmo, a human being can become one with the universe. As we can see, the gold saints in the lost canvas are not just powerful warriors. They are symbols of different aspects of human resilience, whether through Albafica's poisonous blood, or Manigold's heroic sarcasm, or through Regulus's divine genius. Each of them left a mark on the lost canvas in the history of the Holy Wars. They taught us that no matter how powerful your opponent is, even if he is a god who rules over death or sleep, what defines the winner is the intensity with which your Cosmo burns and the nobility of the cause for which you fight. So, which of these feats do you think is the most impressive? Did Manigold go too far by punching a god? Or was Sisyphus's heartless sacrifice the most thrilling? Share your opinion, and also comment on which other great feat of the gold saints from the lost canvas was left out of this list. Who knows, maybe I'll post a part 2 of this video with your opinions. And of course, thank you for watching until the end and see you next time. Burn your Cosmo to infinity.